So if we could ask our esteemed treasurer to lead us through the invocation.
Sure. May we bow our heads. I ask God to remind us that He is our shepherd. He loves us. He's watching over us. And He has a vision, and His vision is perfect. May we stand, please, for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patricia.
Thank you.
And just on behalf of the board and all who know you, we are delighted to see you here today.
I'm delighted to be back. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Moving on to our next topic. I see quite a few folks in the public gallery as well. Are there any comments from the public on any relevant topic at this time? We're all left speakers. All right. Seems like there are no comments. So we had the minutes distributed from the last meeting, which is one I didn't attend. I hear it was the best board meeting held in the last 2 years. So thank you to all for making that happen and giving me some flexibility. Are there any comments to the minutes at this time?
I had a correction, or at least an inquiry, and it looks like that correction was made, so.
Can I confirm the nature of the correction?
It was just a quote or an inquiry that was attributed to me that was, should have been on behalf of my more brilliant colleague.
He was just passing around the glory, that's all. Any other comments, observations? If there are none, I would like to call for a motion to adopt. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Right, I think the ayes have it. The minutes are adopted as distributed. Thank you very much. I always like it when we start the agenda at this pace, and then I'm always optimistic. And then inevitably, when our CEO takes the floor, things get bogged down. I see our next topic is employee recognition. Could I ask you to lead us through it, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors, Mr. Frazier, and welcome to the public. As last month, CARTA implemented a employee recognition program that we dubbed the Sunshine Award. And so this program, it's aimed at fostering a culture of recognition and appreciation within the CARTA organization. This program is designed to consistently provide positive experiences by acknowledging and rewarding employees who have made exceptional contributions and consistently demonstrate outstanding performance beyond expectations. So this month's Sunshine Award is presented to Carla Bush. Carla? I've been with CARTA for over a decade, where she started as a paratransit operator before moving into our customer service role in June of 2020. Carla expresses positivity through her passion for dancing and singing, reflecting her vibrant character. Her dedication to her role stems from a profound motivation to ensure others fulfill their work commitments. What truly resonates with her about her job is the opportunity to engage with diverse individuals, providing them with a positive start to their day and assisting them in beginning on a positive note. Carla has demonstrated excellent customer service by seeking and suggesting methods to enhance the customer's experience. She has willingly aided customers as well as assisted with training other staff members in utilizing the CARTA Go software. Additionally, on multiple occasions, she has gone the extra mile to assist drivers in resolving various issues with their tablets whenever possible, Both internal and external customers have expressed appreciation for her helpfulness. And if she encounters a problem that she does not know the answer to, then she seeks out the solution and then follows back up with the individual afterwards. So please join me once again in congratulating Carla.
Congratulations.
Don't stand any closer, my wife will complain. That is such a positive assessment. Carla, thank you very much. I'm thinking that we should change the name from Carter to Carla. Thank you for all you do. All right, moving on. I'm really looking forward to this part of our meeting, and that is our CEO report. Charles, over to you, please.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Denison. I actually have two reports today. So one at the top of the meeting and then one at the end of the meeting. So you'll get twice the adventure.
Excellent.
Good morning, members of the board and public. Thank you for joining us today. And it's my pleasure to share with you some exciting updates from the Carter family. And many of you know that since I've arrived in Chattanooga 4 months ago, I've been getting out in the community and meeting with a variety of people and organizations so that I can become familiar with priorities and discuss partnership opportunities when appropriate. This month, and I've got a few pictures for you, I had the chance to meet with James McKissick at the Arts Build and his team. And Carter provided a transit tour, and we got to spend time discussing ways in which Carter and Arts Build can work together. And an opportunity has presented itself, which I'm happy to tell you about. We are exploring through a limited pilot program transportation over the summer to free high-quality Spanish dance classes for all ages. The summer program called Expressate, Express Yourself, will run for 6 weeks in June and July at La Paz and Crabtree Farms. And so this is something that we're looking forward to standing up as a test pilot for our microtransit service, and we'll give you some feedback on how that goes when we get it started. I also had the opportunity to spend time with Dr. Mina Sartipi at UTC and learn about her experience and work at the Urban Informatics in Progress. We delved into her vision for Chattanooga to be a city-scale test bed for smart mobility. You've got some pictures up there of some of their amazing equipment on the Martin Luther King Jr. corridor. And we are collaborating with UTC on a TN-GO, grant request for the testing of autonomous vehicles right here in Chattanooga. So we'll keep you posted if we get that opportunity. Next, I'm very excited to let you know that I've been invited to participate in the Young Americans Leadership Program called YELP at Harvard Business School this summer, which is sponsored by the Benwood Foundation here in Chattanooga. And a little background for you, launched in 2015 out of Harvard's U.S. Competitive Project, YELP brings together 10 leaders from each of 14 cities across the country and asks participants to collaborate on solutions to target issues that are going on in their individual cities. I had a chance to meet many of the previous Chattanooga cohorts, including Director Allen and Director Culp, who are here, and they welcomed me to the orientation meeting. And I'm really excited to participate. So I'll be doing that in the month of June, and I'll bring back a full report on that experience. Speaking of partnerships, I'm happy to report on another adventure and with our partners at UTC and introduce a cutting-edge in-ground inductive battery charging for electric buses. And I'm not sure that the board is very well versed on this very innovative project. So a little information, as you can see here, these are the charging pads and they're positioned in ground and they connect they're powered from the ground, but they never actually touch the vehicle. So it's in-ground wireless charging for our electric vehicles. This forward-thinking infrastructure not only aligns with our commitment to sustainability, but also sets a new standard for eco-friendly transit solutions. And specifically, it allows for a one-for-one swap of diesel for electric buses. And let me explain that value proposition a little bit more. Right now, if we want to replace one diesel bus, we really need to buy 2 electric buses because they lose their charge in the day. Installing this type of technology at the end of the bus route will allow us to maintain that charge throughout the day. And so it really allows for a one-for-one swap of diesel and electric buses. So this is something that we really want to continue to explore. I want to highlight our team, particularly Sam Huff and Annie Powell, for their hard work to get this done. The team began discussions on this project in late 2020 and have been working steadily to complete it, all of the complex infrastructure that's involved since that time. I'm also happy to say that the attendees from last week's Mid-South Transportation Parking Association meeting got an up-close look at this infrastructure. So happy that we're staying on track with this type of technology. Next up, safety remains a top priority for CARTA, which is why on April 24th, our safety team conducted an emergency preparedness field exercise at the Incline Railway, and you've got some pictures there. And this was in collaboration with multiple agencies, including the Chattanooga Fire and Police Departments, Hamilton County Office of Emergency Management, the County Sheriff's Office, Lookout Mountains Fire Department, National Park Service, and the Tennessee Department of Transportation, as well as TSA. This engagement was convened by CARTA with the details of the field exercise itself being authored by Chief Terry Knowles, who's not here today, but we're going to introduce his representative. And this allowed us to simulate a response procedure in the event that there's ever an incident on the incline. And so this is a very important training exercise for folks. The goal of the exercise was to familiarize first responders about the very unique circumstances that would be encountered should there ever be an emergency. So I want to thank Director Bill Nye for participating. He's up there on the right hand. And if I could, I think Captain Thompson, please, if you have any words that you'd like to share with the group about the experience.
I just want to say thanks for letting us do it. I've been with the city now for 22 years, and this is the first time we've had a full-scale drill like this on the incline. And a lot of the guys that were there, this is the first time they've been up there too. It was challenging and trying to get somebody off one of the trestles, not being able to just walk straight up to it. But where it ended at on this one worked out for that. So we did it off of both ends of the cars where we had one that was free hanging and the other one that we could actually walk people out if it was in that location. We've had a lot of responses up to the incline. This is the first time we've ever got to do a full scale drill. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Director Nye, did you have any comments?
I think it went really well. I was really pleased with everybody's participation, all the different divisions that showed up. I think they coordinated really well. I know it was a difficult place to get to, but you came through with flying colors. Really pleased with it.
Yeah. All of that aside, judging by the photographic evidence, Bill, it looked like you had a lot of fun.
My final 2 items in this section, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to welcome Scott Wilson. Scott, if you'd stand up for us, to the CARTA team as my new Chief of Staff. Scott has an extensive background in Chattanooga in both public and private sector. He's worked in the mayor's office during the Kinsey administration. He worked at Volkswagen, from plant construction to the launch of the second Chattanooga-built vehicle, the Atlas. And he most recently ran a nonprofit foundation that built 22 parks across the state of Tennessee and was the team lead in developing the innovative Blue Sky Institute. And so I'm very happy to share with you that Scott brings a wealth of experience and insights that will undoubtedly bolster our executive leadership team. So welcome, Scott. And lastly, we have a CARTA retiree to honor, which we should always do. And we bid farewell to Randolph Beck. Randolph, if you would stand up for the moment, please. A beloved member, yes. A beloved member of the Carta family for 2 decades, we celebrate Randolph's legacy of excellence and dedication from his days as a shuttle operator to his recent retirement from fixed route service. His impact on our organization and the lives of those that he served is truly commendable. We wish him all the best in his well-deserved retirement journey. On the upside, now that he's retiring, someone else will have a chance to win at the pool table in the bus operator lounge. He's got a good reputation. But if we could, Randolph, would you please come up and we'd have a plaque for you, sir? Congratulations to you.
Congratulations on
Good luck with the retirement.
Thank you.
I hope you make a far bigger success of it than I have.
Chair Dennison, this completes my report, and I'm available for any questions that you or the board may have.
Thank you. Colleagues, are there any comments or questions, observations? Thank you, Charles, for that
Yes, sir.
report. It does seem to me that we're covering a lot of ground, and all kidding aside, I think if it's 22 years, it's probably way overdue to have had a safety exercise on the incline. And I'm actually advocating that this become a regular feature. Practice makes perfect. Testing processes and developing some muscle memory in a time of emergency will be extremely valuable.
Thank you.
So well done on that initiative. Thank you, sir. And I hope to see this happen with the appropriate frequency. And next time, please invite me along. All right. So if there are no other comments, I put forward I'd ask for a motion to accept as for information this year report. Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Then we ask for the financial report. Sonia, the highlight of the day.
Yes, I know this is why most of you attend, and it keeps you hanging on the edge of your seats, I'm sure. So good morning, Chairman, Directors, Mr. Frazier, colleagues, and the public. The financial reports are attachments 8A. They're in your packet on pages 11 through 13. The financial memo on page 11 contains the significant variances of actual from budget for the month of April. In the month of April, revenue for the month was $2,034,720 compared to our budgeted revenue of $2,171,446. The significant variances included in those numbers are transit, which was under budget $67,546, and that was due from governmental billing of $66,000 for preventative maintenance, and that was just due to a reduction of maintenance during the month. That ebbs and flows, and we budget evenly throughout the year, so some months that will be up, some months that will be down based on what occurs during the month. Our incline revenues were under budget $157,000, and that was due to the closure of the incline of April 8th through April 24th for maintenance. Our expenses for the month were $2,201,162 compared to a budgeted $2,311,561. And the bulk of that variance was in transit of $165,885 due to a wage and benefit under budget variance of $110,000, fuel of $4,971, and our software maintenance $18,000, and also our maintenance, our regular maintenance was under budget $23,000 in transit. I'll jump down to our recurring variances before we talk about parking. The ones that recur that are included in that variance is parking revenue was over budget $81,313. That was due to our increase in October of meter from 50 cents per half hour up to 2 hours of $1. Our caravan expenses were over budget 37,000. That was due to wages and benefits from customer service covering for Car2Go. So that concludes the variance reports. So are there any questions there before we talk about our parking report? Our April parking report is a separate report in your packet. It indicates receipts from parking meter and enforcement of a net positive revenue of 41,000. When combined with net shuttle cost, it's a negative 149,000, which creates a net overall of 107,000. Our total net parking revenue for the month reflected a positive net revenue of 114,000. Before I conclude the financial report, I'd just like to mention a piece of new business. I'd like to give an update on our implementation of our Oracle NetSuite. It's a human resource payroll and accounting software system, and we chose that through an extensive RFP and procurement process. We're currently in the data conversion phase, which that phase will last through July. Then we'll migrate into the training phase in August and September, and we're scheduled to go live October 15th for the financial milestone, and then shortly thereafter, we'll go live in the HR payroll. And that will be approximately 4 to 6 weeks subsequently after we go live in our financial milestone. So if there are no other questions, we recommend that the board approve our financial reports for the month.
Second.
I have a question.
Yes.
Our parking garages. Do we have a read on the sort of capacity utilization?
I'm not sure. I'll have to get back with you on that. Brent's not here with us today, and he'll have that information readily. So I will email that out to you. I'll get with him.
The reason I'm interested is obviously, you know, as we look to the future for ways to optimize revenues, one is, of course, the simple act of raising fees. But I also would like to know if you've got 50% of the bays empty at any given moment, that's the other avenue to try to attract more people to use it.
Without knowing specifics, I know when we previously touched on this, we are definitely lower than 50% utilization. There's a lot of availability in our parking lots.
So I think, you know, that would lead one then to focus on your first steps for revenue optimization is to attract more people to the parking structure. And raising fees is probably not the first step one would do.
I think differentiating us from the private parking lots is also important because there's a negative perception of parking as an umbrella term, and I don't think people realize the cost savings if they go with one of our lots. So good outreach opportunity.
It is.
If I may, just to hear some of the verbiage, we need to make sure that we're distinguishing between the parking garages, the decks, the surface lots, and the on-street. At our operations committee meeting next month, we do have a full debrief on parking, and that's really covering 3 different domains. It's parking policy, which is inclusive of revenue and enforcement, and the areas in which we collect for parking. It's also signage, which is a critical important piece for the mayor's office in distinguishing between private and public lots. And then it'll be the technology piece, which is not only the Park Mobile, but also a new technology that we're looking at that will give us real-time information on parking inventory and availability. So we would be prepared to have a more robust discussion in the committee meeting, inclusive of utilization.
Thank you, Charles. It sounds good. Can I also ask that we are armed with information at that meeting as well regarding long-term agreements we have with some of the hotels to utilize our parking structures? I'd like to know where we stand with that as well.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we've had a motion to adopt for information the financial report. Do I have a second? There's another question.
Yeah, Charles, you touched on signage for parking. There's a shuttle sign and a combination parking garage sign at Fourth when you're coming off the 27th. Coming down Fourth Street right there at Chestnut, there's a tree that's just blocked. It needs to be pruned back where people can actually see that we've got parking down by the aquarium and Discovery Museum in that area. It's been blocking it for quite a while. I said something about 6 or 8 months ago about it, but it's still there. But it needs to be cut back where we can get full view of our sign that we've got there.
One other quick question for the monthly parking garages where you can get, I guess a monthly rate pass. Do we offer any security in those areas?
We do have security in the parking garages, but it's not 24/7. So it's scheduled at the most critical times in the evening, weekends.
Okay, just wondered about that. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Do I have, I just want to make sure that we've gone through the formalities. Any other questions? Do we have a second? All right. We all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. We accept the financial report.
okay. And if I may direct you to page 14, we have a recommended action. The staff recommends that the board approve a change of the check signing threshold from 2,000 to 10,000 for the requirement of the treasurer to physically sign vendor payments. This aligns with Carta's strategic imperatives of fiscal accountability, efficiency, and transparency. The approval of this item will reduce the volume of vendor payments requiring the physical signature by the treasurer. And in addition, both the treasurer and the full board will continue to have complete access to the entire check register regardless of the amount. The background and history on this particular request of change. Carta enforces a detailed purchasing policy, which includes Carta's ethics and standards of conduct regarding purchasing, handling of disadvantaged business enterprises, general procurement practices per our FTA guidelines and regulations, methods of procurement, including requirements for micro, small, and large purchases, protest procedures, and contract requirements, rental leasing guidelines, and disposition of our property. An expense check and any other type of vendor payment requires 3 signatures. The treasurer's signature is always included on all expense checks. The accounts payable administrator keeps any expense checks now currently over $2,000 in a separate file for the treasurer's additional approval in which she physically signs. The other 2 signatures can be any of the authorized signers. The treasurer has a signature stamp that is used for checks less than $2,000 and maintained in the accounts payable administrator's office. The treasurer only physically approves and signs expense checks over the $2,000 threshold, and we're recommending increasing this threshold to $10,000. A vendor list and supporting documentation of expenses over $2,000 will be provided for the treasurer's review. And of that list, if there are any invoices that she would like us to pull to look at the backup for those, we'll be glad to do that at her time, at the time that she comes in to look at all that are over 10,000. From researching this, we went back to, it's been over 30 years since that's been increased. The $2,000 was the first initial amount. So we just thought it would be a good time to implement an increase if you all are in agreement with that particular.
I like to see our treasurer come in frequently to sign lots of checks.
Yes, we do too. We really enjoy.
Any commentary to that?
since last time was 30 years ago, is gonna be any policy in place to kind of prevent for that to be happening again? Or it's like, it's gonna be up to you to like update the amount?
If we ever decide to update it in the future, we'll bring this back to the full board with the request.
Daniela, don't worry, I don't think we're gonna serve 30 years, so the next time they update won't be our problem. All right, so this is a full decision topic, so do I have a motion and support?
A second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye, those opposed? Right, the recommendation is accepted, so decided.
The next agenda, item 8C, we request to be postponed until the next board meeting. We don't have a resolution available today to review and sign. That comes directly from the bank. Do not have that.
I have to admit, I'm probably partially at least the cause of that. I submitted the information that was requested, and apparently it was incomplete, but I didn't realize it.
Did she give
Because
you?
I received a contact from a bank that I don't know, asking for all sorts of things, and I thought it was spam, so I told them to get lost.
Yeah, okay,
That was another one of those.
okay,
Sunday
I'm
night.
sorry.
Yeah, so now that the penny has just dropped,
Okay,
so I will actually reach out with them.
okay, we'll bring this back next month, so thank you.
Okay. All right, Philip, statistical report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Fraser, directors and guests. Refer to you page 16 and 17 for our board memo and statistical report. We had a very solid month of April with continued growth in general and specifically strong growth on the downtown shuttle and St. Elmo shuttle as they were up 44% and 19% year over year respectively. So a very strong rebound out of the winter slowdown on those shuttle routes. Car2Go's operations continued growth with weekly peak ridership records last month, and then a 35% growth year over year. Specifically on fixed route, we're up 16% year over year and 5% over the prior month. So we're seeing slow, steady growth month over month. With fixed route weekday ridership up 3%, very strong growth on Saturday fixed route ridership at 7% and Sunday fixed route ridership at 5%. I think those numbers are something we'll be watching very closely to determine any possible adjustments in our scheduling that might accommodate weekend riders. Shuttle ridership as a whole, including the North Shore, was up 34% year over year. Incline ridership was down due to the 18 shutdown days for the cable replacement. And caravan ridership is up 12% year over year, and they had no accidents or turn downs in the prior month. Bikes and wheelchairs are just varying in a normal pattern with some months up, some months down, but nothing drastic in any case in that area. That's the brief summary for today. Any questions that I might entertain?
I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
That shuttle performance is fantastic overall, but the North Shore is kind of the anomaly. Do we attribute that just to the frequency of that one being on a downward trend?
It's not really on a downward trend. It's just there's a substantial amount of monthly variation in that route, and it's a stable system, but it just varies month to month. So depending on which month we're benchmarking it against, it appears higher or lower just based on that given month. But I mean, that is a 30-minute route. It wanders through the neighborhood a bit. It's always been a topic of consideration for reevaluation.
Curious as to why it would have this variability.
All our routes have a fair amount of variability from day to day, month to month, due to factors we don't control. We run the schedule, the bus is there, personal demands fluctuates with when revenue checks come in, when their payroll checks come in, weather factors, things like that. But in looking at it from a systemic performance, all of our routes are within normal control limits of variability. With the exception of the downtown shuttle is nearing the upper control limit. So we'll see what happens next month. And that may be an anomaly.
You might have to install seats on the roof.
We might.
So I have a question to the incline performance. What is the dollar value of 43% decline in ridership? 48%?
It is. It's
The under budget
Yeah.
variance was 157,000 in total for the 18 days.
So that's as good a proxy as anything. $150,000.
Yeah.
That is the price, true price of inadequate planning. I just have to call it that. Planning the maintenance for high season as opposed to low season was not a smart move. I'm confident, Charles, that under your leadership, the next time we need a cable replacement, we'll time it appropriately. If this was run as our company, where we owned it directly, I am highly confident we would not have planned to replace the cable at a peak seasonality time. Is the point I'm trying to make.
If I may, yes, sir, absolutely. We will plan very strategically. In this particular case, there was an additional piece of information that everyone should be aware of, which is that we are a little bit at the relying on the manufacturer of the cable, which was delayed, which contributed to the needing to be shut down twice. So I would like to just make that a known fact. But to your point, the team and I will be very strategic about minimizing the downtime of a revenue generating resource.
Thank you.
When Boeing fails to supply aircraft on time, the airlines send them a bill. I would highly recommend that when we negotiate the replacement of this cable, if this is a phenomenon, that part of the conditions of it's late, they pay. Seriously, the incline is our largest source of revenue. It keeps the lights on.
Right.
I don't want to belabor the point, but you get the message. Right.
Message received.
Thank you very much. I don't want to be grumpy because I'm not usually.
Are any other questions? We recommend that the statistical report be approved as information for the board.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? We accept your report. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
All right. Compensation HR committee report. Sharita?
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. The HR, Compensation HR Committee had a joint meeting with the Finance Committee on May 1st. We met here in the boardroom. As a follow-up to a request from the HR Committee to staff several months ago, staff presented a plan for implementing both policies and procedures for staff evaluations moving forward. There was an interest in making sure that employee job descriptions and expectations and metrics were laid out before these evaluations start to happen. Staff did present a plan for that, and moving forward, there will be a policy that will come to the board that will talk about the frequency of those staff evaluations and then how bonuses and raises are implemented in accordance with those evaluations. So again, first time this has happened in quite a while. And so moving forward, we will start to see those being implemented across the board internally. Staff, any follow-up to that? No? And committee members, any additional items you'd like to discuss?
Thank you, Sri. That sounds like very good work. This is important foundational stuff. And I appreciate the effort that's gone into that and your leadership as well. Any other comments? All right, then I think that we should just accept your feedback for information. The Operations Committee has got no report today, nothing new to report. As our CEO has indicated, we have a committee meeting coming up in the next few weeks. And so I expect that we will give a comprehensive update to the board at next month's meeting. Moving on to new business, Fair Technology. Annie?
Morning, Chairman Denison, Board of Directors, CARTA employees, Mr. Frazier, and the public. If I could direct you to page 20. I'll be providing an overview of our Fair Technology and next steps to prepare for procurement of new solutions. Since funding was awarded through TDOT's Improve Act grant application process, CARTA has engaged with a consulting firm to assist in determining the scope of the request for proposals for updated Fair Technology. The consulting firm has held workshops with CARTA's departments to both inform staff about what's available in the marketplace and within the industry, and to gather feedback on pain points within our current fair collection process. During the April 12th Finance Committee meeting, preliminary information was provided, and then further information was provided the May 1st Finance Committee meeting based on questions from April 12th. So I'm going to go over that information now. So our current technology, we have fare boxes on board all of our fixed truck vehicles except for the downtown shuttle. We accept cash and smart cards. Exact fare is required on board if you're paying with cash. Bill and coin validators check for authenticity of the cash and coins that are put in the fare box. 24-hour unlimited ride passes are available for purchase on board, but no value is added until the passenger adds it at the fare box. 7-day and 31 unlimited ride passes are available for purchase at CARTA and the CPH at the Parking Authority. Value can be added to smart cards at CARTA and or on the bus only right now. So that's what our current technology is. So these are kind of what's available in the market today. So similar to what our system is now, there's card-based solutions and everything is kind of centered on the card. So all of your fare information, if you had to have like a reduced fare pass, there's an indicator and then you could provide ID. So if you lose your card, you're kind of out of luck because everything is centered on the card. An account-based system is kind of how it is described. You have an account. It could be either anonymous or you could register. The fare collection system kind of happens back at CARTA. And it gives riders flexibility to use any fare media. So we could use mobile ticketing, credit cards, eventually Apple Pay and Google Pay. One of the features that account-based system offers is fare capping. Fare capping is if, so our $50 monthly pass, you have to fork over $50 at the time you buy it. An account-based, fare capping would be, I pay $1.50 every day. Once I reach $50, then I don't have to pay for the rest of the month. So that it would be kind of a cap on how much we would ask each month. Kind of next is onboard options that's available now. So we could just do a digital validator for mobile ticketing, credit cards, those kinds of things. We could keep the existing fare boxes. We can't get them. So if we had additional vehicles, it would be hard to implement those. You can do, if you can kind of look in the picture there is kind of like a non-registering fare box, but we don't get the kind of the fraud protection. So we wouldn't have cash and coin validation going on there. The integrated fare box is on the right there, and it would be similar to what we have now, but it would just take more methods of payment. So it would have mobile ticketing, smart cards, that kind of thing. So an integrated fare box, advantages would be there'd be a single system for maintenance. It's familiar to our customers and drivers now. It would kind of directly address our concerns with not being able to get fare boxes. So if they got new vehicles, we would not be able to get a new fare box to put on it. It would improve, a new system would improve off-board fare payment options. So you could reload your smart cards through website, those kinds of things. It is higher cost, and I'll kind of get to the costs in a minute. And there's fewer vendors. So there's maybe a handful of vendors that provide a fare box like this that have the integrated options. So it's reduced competition, and that's what kind of makes it more expensive. Separate digital validator, it would be lower cost. There's more vendors that are currently in the market, so there'd be increased competition. It would be similar to the integrated fare box in that there would be off-board fare payment options. Disadvantages would be, so if we had two separate systems, if we had either kind of a dumb fare box or using our old fare boxes and then the digital validator, those would be two systems we had to pull information from and kind of combine it together. And it would be a change for our customers.
And
Yes, sir.
how few vendors do we have?
So I know of two. I think there's probably maybe a third one. So it's fairly limited. Is that
That's
true to
right.
your experience?
Because prior on those other buses and stuff, we only had one vendor.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was really good, wasn't he?
This is kind of a diagram of what options are available. So there, if you see on board the vehicle, what could happen. So there could be an onboard validator, the fare box. It could integrate with our CAT ADL solution. Fare media, so there's smart cards, open payments. You could use Visa, MasterCard, mobile wallet, those kinds of things. That's kind of the back end. User interface, so you could integrate with Carta and come by and have someone help you with putting your card on. You could also have a mobile app, website. If we do have retail partners right now who buy passes from us each month, they could kind of regulate that themselves instead of always having to rely on Carta for that. Up there's kind of, this is where the garage systems, that's what we traditionally do now. So that's how we accept cash and from there. And then we don't have any of these right now, but ticket vending machines are available as options. And then retail network. So if we had arrangements with retail providers, they could sell passes for us, put value on cards. So these are kind of the high level cost estimates. So the integrated fare box, kind of the low end is $2 million, the high end is 2.8. So I'll talk a little bit about it later, but we don't have that level of grant funds available. But we can prioritize some of our other funding sources if we needed to make that done. A separate digital validator, low end is 500,000, estimated high is 900,000. And that would just be for the validator on the bus. The next one is a separate digital validator, and then the simple fare box. So like in that kind of narrow fare box. Low is 1.5, high is 2.1. I probably think we don't want to go that way because we have a higher percentage of cash on board right now. It's about 50%. I just think it would open us up to maybe some fraud on board. So I'll go back a little bit. So at our April 12th meeting.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Are we required to accept cash?
I think that we're required to have available payment methods for everyone. So if someone only could pay with cash, we need to be able to accommodate them. We do not necessarily have to accept cash on board. And that was kind of where we got to at the April 12th meeting. Some questions were asked. We did a little bit of investigation, and I'll go through some of that. But I don't think that we're required to accept cash on board, but we would have to do a Title VI analysis to make sure that we're not adversely impacted, or if we are, that we're making mitigating actions to account for that.
I mean, sorry, in that regard, in Title VI, and I'm coming from a place of like, I think our bottom line is higher, so, really impressed with all the analysis. But I'm wondering if it's a strategy, because right now it's focused in the bus, but how you get the car to use in the bus, I think it's very challenging if you don't work in downtown. So like, all this work is part of another strategy of like creating more access to bike carts, or like, I don't know if it kind of like makes sense what I'm asking, but as an example, with the
vendors.
more
Yeah, more vendors
went to the
that,
public library and I saw a sign about Carta, and it was great, kind of like encouraging to, you know, use the bus, but then sending you to another location. So like, is this part of something more, or that's the next step? Are we, I bet are we thinking about that? So I would like to know that. And then the other one with the use of this technology, and because I use like public transportation in other cities, are we implying if we go in any of this direction that under 18 people that don't have cell phones, we will be free fare? Or like how we, because like, what is there when, if we pick one option and that option implies cell phone or some kind of technology that children don't have? So how are they gonna use transit?
Oh, I'll start with your first question. I agree. I think that we just have two locations where you can buy cards. You can only put value on them either on the bus or here at Carta. So I think in any of these options, we would want to have a greater variety of places to look for it. And as far as options for people who don't have technology, I don't think we would be wanting to only offer one type of way to pay for things for anyone. I think that we would want options available to make things convenient, but we wouldn't want to only do mobile ticketing. Not everyone would have a cell phone. Does that answer your question? Okay. So kind of going back to
So
whether.
you're not planning to have no children on the bus, is what you're saying?
Through our discussions, there was a discussion of cost benefit analysis of continuing to take cash on board or moving away from that. And here's kind of some analysis of that. So continuing to take cash on board. The capital cost would be higher. You saw the variations and how much that would be. Cost of cash collection will be about the same for both. Overall operating costs would be lower for having a fare box on the bus, and maybe a little higher if we distributed cash collection across a retail network. Benefits would be, it's familiar to people now. Fare capping is still potential for some customers, but not for all. If you paid with cash, we wouldn't have a way to fare cap for you. There would be a single integrated modern system, which would be good. Risks would be there might be a missed opportunity for operating efficiency if we continue to take cash on board. If we don't, then I think boarding times would be quicker. We might be able to do a little better with our on-time performance. There is a potential for disparate impact if people were paying for cash, because like I said, there's no way for us to fare cap if we don't have a way to measure that for you. Kind of on eliminating on board, so it's a lower capital cost, similar cost of cash collection. There would be reduced dwell times and improved operating efficiency. Fare capping would be for all customers. And there would be, again, a single integrated modern system. It would just look a little different. There would be kind of risks for that would be disparate impact to low income or minority groups. So if we had a retail network that might be inconvenient for some folks, there would be limited control that Carta might have for some of the retail agreements. So locations could come on and offline. That's something that when we talked to Dayton, they talked about that they just put a link on their website because they're not always even aware that people come on and off. And it would require significant public communication education to let people know about this. There would be a need for a Title VI analysis. When talking with excuse me, Arcadis, they had some discussions with Dayton. Some of their potential mitigation efforts were to present more TVM, which is ticket vending machine, or retail reload locations in neighborhoods with higher populations of Title VI protected residents. So we kind of know what the retail network would look like to see if there would be any issues on that side. Dayton also allows their customers to go into a negative balance for one ride in order to access a cash reload location. And they allow customers, if they're not aware that they don't take cash on board, they allow them one trip to go to a reloading facility. So we talked to Knoxville, who was planning on going cash-free on board starting in October with their distribution of smart cards in September. They currently have a relationship with Masabi for their mobile ticketing, which is integrated with Transit app, which is a trip planning application. So through their contract with Masabi, they have access to Incom, which will manage the retail relationships at different retailers. So Walgreens, CVS, I think Dayton said Walmart was recently added. That riders could go there and reload a smart card with cash, and then they would be able to ride our buses. They're in early discussions with Incom, so Knoxville didn't have a lot more on that side of things. And I think kind of from a question that I believe Director Evatt had, they reduced their fare from $1.50 to $1. It streamlined the boarding process maybe somewhat, but taking cash just generally is kind of a timely process. Dayton, Ohio, they have been not taking cash on board since 2021. They had a very much longer implementation process. I think they started with just the introduction of mobile ticketing, similar to Knoxville, integrated through Transit app. They established a retail network of for customers to load their cards, but they didn't require them to at that point. They introduced the reloadable smart cards as part of that retail network, and eventually they did remove cash on board buses, so no one can pay for boarding on board. They're still there and they're covered. They do have some buses where they just haven't put a fare box on.
Andy, is that the
Yes,
only two that we have that's comparable?
As far as I know, I think Dayton is the only one that is not accepting cash on board nationwide. Does that sound right? Knoxville's looking September, October timeframe.
Asheville, they
think- Yeah, I think they still.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
one question. I think I asked this at the finance committee meeting, but, you were either gonna follow up or you answered it and I forgot.
Yes.
But in the Dayton example, when it says cash declines from 43% of cash payments to 8%,
Yes.
my question was there a decline, was there a loss of customers because of the transition?
So when I spoke to Dayton, they said that they don't think that their ridership has fluctuated. So I think because they did it during the pandemic, they weren't sure that they gained anyone from offering more, but they didn't feel like they had lost anyone. They felt like it was a lengthy but seamless process. So they didn't feel like they lost any customers from going cash free on board.
That sounds really anecdotal. and a lot
It
of
does,
feel.
yeah.
I hope they're measuring well, because that's valuable data.
I did look at their ridership so it's basically comparing 2020 and 2021. And it's very different. And it's kind of hard to pinpoint why that would be. I think they thought it was more related to the pandemic and coming back and those things than from changing, but they didn't really know.
It's a fair question, of course. I think what probably influences that cause-effect relationship is the availability of alternative forms of transport. If you don't have an alternative, you'll probably figure your way around navigating or using cash, but you need the bus.
Annie, do we have any, how this system affect like, the drivers? Like they have to like take a role when people don't have the car, have the cash, or how is that interaction?
So when I talked to Dayton, they said that was something that came up with their drivers often. So I think it would be, they suggested being very proactive about having a policy that if someone doesn't, or if you suspect that someone's trying to, ride for free that shouldn't be, that processes need to put in place and communicate to the driver so they feel confident and then remind if whatever the mitigating actions were. So if they allow their riders to have a negative balance and they allow a free ride for like a one-time thing, kind of communicating those well and going through the procedures of what would need to happen to make it a good process.
It does seem like a very fair policy. So if someone's in a bind, you can help them. But they have the opportunity to remedy the situation. If they then are flagged as second or repeated offender, then you know it's someone who's trying to game the system. Right.
And we kind of do that now with our smart card system. I think the drivers call in and the dispatcher writes it down. So if someone else calls again and it's that same person, they kind of know. Kind of next steps. So I think from a procurement standpoint, we need to determine whether we want to continue accepting cash on board. It would require robust public outreach, including our caravan customers. Since right now they just pay cash on board, there would need to be discussions with them on that. Cash would be accepted at retail locations. Like I said, we would need a general idea of those locations to see if we needed to supplement with ticket vending machines. And I had an example. So if we had simple TVMs, which just gave you a barcode ticket to board the bus, those are about $15,000 to $20,000 each. A fully featured one that can distribute a smart card would be $70,000 to $80,000. There would be power and other requirements at the locations. That doesn't include that. And then we would need some kind of mechanism to gather that cash and go from there. So expected functions independent of onboard equipment decision. Account base could be offered for either system and do the fare capping. We can accept cash either to retail or on board. Smart cards, mobile ticketing, credit debit card, near field technology, so Apple and Google Pay. There'd be an ability to add value to smart cards online, kind of anecdotally from Dayton. They said not many people did this. They either went to a retail location, but they did say that 70% of their folks use ticket vending machines, and that's at their transit center. So I think that would be an important thing to think about as we work to make that decision. Since we're the only ones that kind of do that in the nation, I think that's good input to have. And then if paying with cash, if it was on the board of the bus, we would want exact change still. Expected additional functions of an integrated fare box, if that's the way we wanted to go. We would still have bill and coin validators, and then still give the riders the ability to add value to smart cards on board. So that's kind of our next steps.
Any quick question?
Yes, sir.
You said they're one of the only ones in the nation doing something. Who is they and what is it they're doing?
Dayton, and they're not taking cash on board the bus.
They're one of the only ones in the nation not doing that?
That's right. Like I said, Knoxville's working towards that. They haven't done it yet. I think Dayton's the only one that's done it.
There's a lot of people that are researching it, but I think the Title VI analysis takes a little bit of time, and then the mitigation, if there is a disparate impact, you need to plan for that, and that could be a robust time frame for doing so. But a lot of people are leaning away from the big investment of the fare box itself.
Must every community do their own Title VI analysis? Is there any sharing that can happen?
We must do ours for this community.
Okay.
They did share their analysis so that we could review and see if there's commonalities and things like that. But yeah, we have to do it for our community and kind of the layout of where retail locations are, where Title VI populations might be located.
Okay.
I
So
think,
Gary, not to put you on the spot, since I'm like a really impatient individual. So you closer to this than most of us, I would imagine. What would be your recommendation at this time, based on your level of knowledge?
so I'll say it, but I'll give a caveat. So I think it would be good to move away from accepting cash on board. I think it would make it easier for our drivers and quicker when you're on the bus. But I think it would add time to our procurement process. So I think with the outreach and public engagement that we would need, I think we talked about 6 to 8 months, it might add. So my next slide is maybe a timeline, that's not including that level of time. It kind of would depend, so there's kind of a trade-off, I guess.
And that delay is because of all of this Title VI research.
Mhm.
stuff.
I'm gonna jump in just because I would try to find the right moment because I have a lot to say about the subject, and I think it's a rare moment that I will disagree with you, Annie. just
Okay.
Because what we have in the case of Knoxville is someone that already has a state-of-the-art hub. Dayton has a hub and 4 additional transit centers,
That's right.
which account for,
Yeah.
you said 70% of those. It's kind of a cart before the horse situation, in my opinion. Like, we do not have the infrastructure available for people. Like, right now, if we had adopted Incom or Vanilla Direct, which are the 2 retail partnerships, the only location that you could get a transit card downtown is at a single dollar store.
Okay.
And like, that's it. Like, outside of that, it's dollar stores, Walgreens. I think we've seen what's happened to Walgreens in the area. Like, it's hard to rely on just a retail partnership
Absolutely.
until we have kind of our own infrastructure in place. And if it's that expensive for TVMs, like, I have a hard time going immediately to that path until we have everything else kind of under control. And it just as someone that rides frequently, the reliance on cash is huge. It is, I mean, I know we can say kind of 50%, but it's really more than that because cash is what is used to refill the cards
That's
in our
right.
current system. So we're talking 80, 90%, you know. So this is a big undertaking, and I just don't know that we are ready to entertain the conversation yet.
Fair enough.
So can we pick the retail or like there?
I think, so Incom is one, I know that there's another, I guess you said Vanilla Direct, I feel like there was,
Yeah, so
Another
Dayton
one.
uses Vanilla Direct. You can actually use Dayton's link right now and then just shift the map up to Chattanooga and it will tell you what those partnerships
Very
will
good.
look like. And
Okay.
that's where there's $1 general in all of downtown Chattanooga, basically, like, you know, the core of downtown. Outside of that, the next closest would be like a Circle K off 23rd or the Speedway kind of in this direction. So just in that huge area, there's only 3 potential
that's right.
locations.
And those are bigger conversations.
Yeah.
Just to help me to understand, so is this an isolated case or this is like the market for this? Because I travel in other places and you find you can charge your car, not in the country, but like in mini stores at the corner. So is this like a US type of monopoly situation that you can?
I'm not certain. I think the way it's kind of set up in the 2 examples that I've given is that Masabi has this relationship with Incom and it kind of allows them to manage the retail part of it because it would be hard for Carta to manage all those individual retail agreements with people.
So it sounds to me like they have too few partners in the Chattanooga area.
That could be, yeah.
And what incentive does retail partners have to offer the cards or to be a part of this process? So that's just another thing to put out there.
I'm not sure. I think, and they don't sell the cards, they just take the cash and then reload the card. I think it's similar, maybe they do for other things. But yeah, I think like Dayton said, vendors come on and off. So I think someone may just decide it's not worth doing at some point. And we don't have a lot of control over that. But yes, when Dayton said that a lot of their transactions were on the TBM at the transit center, so that it does make it more challenging for us. We would have to be thoughtful about if we wanted to go that way, about where that would go.
And I don't mean to appear negative. I think it's a both and situation. I think we could and should start incorporating account-based, first of all, is huge. Like fare capping, which you talked about, not only is just like a justice issue, but it is a ridership issue. Like if we institute daily and monthly fare capping, our ridership will absolutely go up. But implementing retail while we still accept like kind of that transition period, I think it would be a great thing. Just giving people more opportunities. Danielle, like you said, that they don't have to come here or one other location to get a card is huge. So
I think I probably am not too terrified of pushback with the following statement is that we directionally would like to move forward with embracing technology to make the whole process more efficient, more customer friendly and seamless and all these things. However, we need to make sure that the boundary conditions that will enable a seamless transition are in place. And that probably does suggest, this could perhaps be part of your homework, but it does suggest that we need to have a very carefully managed transition through to an ultimate end state, whenever that may be in year X, of complete cashless. But it's probably not something that we can do as an initial step. Yeah.
If I may, before we go on, I had three comments. Number one, and we're going to get to this in a second. I think what I've been hearing from the board is a desire to move expeditiously with certain things, this being one of them, and a new fare collection system, whatever the other associated policies are, would give us the ability for Apple Pay and the credit cards and all of those things that I'm hearing from the board. We should do this quickly. Number one. Number two, not proceeding at all is challenging because we don't have access to more of the fare boxes that we need. And so there will be ramifications for not deciding on something. And then thirdly, the question you had about the incentives and that network, at my last agency, I would support something similar here. Outside of the retail network that Masabi has or others have, we could also create an incentive for local retailers, give them preloaded cards with different fare levels, and allow them to keep part of that profit. So if they sold,
like a handling fee.
yeah, it's a handling fee. And so then that would be the incentive for them, is if they sell a $15 card, they give us back 10, something like that.
Right.
So I think that there's all of these things are still up for discussion. The purpose of today was to brief the board on where we are in this space and time, and I think get a little bit of a feeling. Do you have another couple slides you need to go through? Okay. So I think we would ask the board for some direction on, and I think I'm not hearing consensus from the board. I'm hearing some people maybe don't move so quickly.
Well,
I have a recommendation.
I will say I am still in move quickly camp. I am
Understand.
I'm not in move so quickly that all of a sudden you can't take cash. Like
I would recommend that that the board consider moving forward with a Title VI analysis, which means that we're not putting an RFP on the street for the system yet. But the Title VI analysis will inform us about the very specific details of this community.
Right.
And what the disparate impact could be, which would then allow us to determine what is the mitigating strategy and how much will that cost. So that'll give us the full picture.
So I would go along with it. Corey, could I respond to you in this way? Let the board not decide that we don't want to go cashless because we have concerns about it. We should express what our concerns are and the implications of going cashless. And we ask the team and the subject matter experts in finding a way on how to address those concerns, whatever way it may be. And if the answer is, we have to start making our own cash fare boxes, hopefully not, then that's what it is. But I think we have a sort of at an intellectual level, a sympathetic and aligned point of view with what you just articulated. But let's not constrain our colleagues by tying their hands saying you must go cash. Let's just tell them what's the problem we're trying to avoid. We don't want people to be inconvenienced and end up, without access. And they need to tell us what is the best way to achieve that. Does that sound fair?
Oh, I'm all about some data. So I think that will bear out exactly what we need to do if we get more information. And yeah, again, I don't want to come off as making hurdles here. I want to make sure, and Knoxville is a good example, but it's also one where they have the transit center first. So I think you'll find in so many of these cities that have moved towards this, they've made the investments for hubs and vending machines and those sorts of things.
Well,
because-
that's it's also another reason why we need to put the burners on the transit center also.
Right.
I have a quick question. Is there a cost associated with the Title VI research? Is that conducted by an outside entity or is that an internal study?
I think it could be either. I think it might be helpful to have an independent place do it. So there would be maybe a slowdown because we're getting ready to do an RFP for planning services and things like that. So I think it could be go either way.
Well, in talking with these other two, Dayton and Knoxville, what did they do?
I don't think Knoxville has done their Title VI analysis yet. Dayton did provide me with theirs. I'll take a look and see if I can tell if it was done by a consultant or not. I'm not sure.
So to my way of thinking, we know we want to move off from where we are today. We've got a general idea of where we want to land, but we're not yet sure which is the best route to get there. We know that whatever we want to do is going to require a Title VI analysis. And given that you've already explained to us it takes some time, it would seem to me to be prudent to start that anyway. And in parallel, ask you to continue to work on refining the options to the point where there is a clear emerging leading proposal that you can bring to the board for consideration.
And if anybody has the opportunity, I would encourage you to do it. Trina and I did, checking out Knoxville's kind of transitional implementation. And their transit center is fantastic. So, I mean.
Did y'all go visit it?
Yes.
So it's true. A few months ago. Yeah. Kind of right after they introduced their bubble stuff. So.
So based on the way that I've.
What's that?
Sorry, I was asking Charles if he didn't finish with his recommendation.
I hadn't. My recommendation would be that staff move forward with the Title VI analysis and then concurrently stand up a pilot program for mobile ticketing, which will be kind of a win-win because with the mobile ticketing, we can get some of the advantages, not all the fare capping and everything, but the use of credit cards and a mobile app. And so I think it would be a win-win for the organization to do so.
And already begin to develop some learning experience from that.
Will we also introduce new riders if they were able to use their smartphones? Because I feel like maybe some people do not ride the bus because they don't know the process. They could just get on and pay with their smartphones, and we may see more ridership. Do we anticipate that or no?
I think that could draw some additional ridership.
It's the investment in like Title VI. Will that yield other data that's beneficial in other ways as well?
It will.
Like planning and.
All right, I would like to ask, do we have a motion to support the CEO's recommendation?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion is adopted. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Annie. Good topic.
Thank you.
Code of ethics and nepotism policy. Jeff.
If I may direct your attention to page 30 in your board packet. This is regarding the reaffirmation of the Code of Ethics and Nepotism Policy. So staff recommends that the board reaffirm their understanding and commitment to adhere to the Code of Ethics and Nepotism Policy as mandated by their role within CARTA. This action aligns with CARTA's strategic imperatives of commitment to upholding principles of integrity, fairness, and accountability. The board reaffirming their commitment to these policies demonstrates its dedication to promoting fairness, accountability, and trustworthiness in all aspects of decision-making and operations. This not only strengthens the ethical culture of the company, but also enhances its reputation and credibility among stakeholders and the broader community. So each year, the board members of CARTA affirm or reaffirm their understanding and commitment to adhere to the Code of Ethics and Nepotism Policy as mandated by the rule within CARTA. This affirmation acknowledges their obligation to abide by the Code of Ethics as outlined in Article 13 of the Chattanooga City Code, and the nepotism policy as well in Section 2-195, which was adopted by the CARTA Board on August 20th of 2015. So the city's Code of Ethics addresses in particular under Section 2-754 of the city's Ethics Code, the prohibition of accepting gifts, money, or gratuity over $50 for performance of any act or refraining from performing any act in the regular course of their duties and or refraining from performing any act that may reasonably be interpreted as an attempt to influence actions. So if I could encourage everybody here, if you, on page 31, you will find that signature page that when you leave out of here today, if you could kindly sign that form and hand that in to either myself or Charles, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Can I confirm that my name badge is less than $50?
Yes.
So there's a separate form. Say that, please. Okay. Yes, that is the, yes.
Packet. You don't have to remove it from your packet. I just make your copy to take your packets apart.
So there's an additional.
It's the same form. It's just a copy of it. Is that not-
We got it.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
No, we don't want to keep ripping pages apart. Thank you for that, for taking care of it.
Today's the 16th. Yes, ma'am.
All right, any comments to that? Thank you very much, Jeff. You need to take the action.
No, we are.
I don't think so.
So it's,
Got it.
It's not an action. We'll just sign the paper.
it's not, it's a key, it's a renewal, it's not a order.
Thank you.
All right, old business, Fairview program.
11C, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Apologies. Vehicle donation policy. Sonia.
Okay, if I could direct your attention to page 40, we're recommending that the board adopt a resolution number 603, which authorizes the CEO to donate, assign, give, convey, transfer, or deliver out of service buses, vans, or any other fleet vehicles that have exceeded their useful life. This action aligns with CARTA's strategic imperatives of transparency and community partnerships. The approval of this resolution will authorize the CEO in the CEO's sole discretion from time to time to donate, assign, give, convey, transfer, or deliver out of service buses, vans, or other fleet vehicles that have exceeded their useful life to the city of Chattanooga and or other governmental entities or to nonprofit organizations for use in community projects. Under our FTA regulations, CARTA has the right to auction, donate, or scrap excess out-of-service vehicles that have exceeded their useful life. Further, as a good steward of taxpayer dollars and as a trusted community partner, CARTA will look for opportunities to donate or transfer vehicles that have exceeded their useful lives to, again, the city of Chattanooga or other governmental entities or to nonprofit organizations for use in community projects. These type of entities are what under our guidelines with FTA will allow us to donate to. So we're just asking for approval of this resolution, which is on page 41. That will require the chairman's signature, the secretary's signature, and our legal counsel, Miller and Martin.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
What is the definition of exceeds useful service life? And who makes that determination?
From an accounting perspective, it means it has been fully depreciated In addition, our maintenance department, we rely on them to tell us if there's any useful life left in it based on how much maintenance they are performing on a regular basis and how much mileage it has. I'll refer to Annie to ask if there are any other FTA guidelines for useful life other than the financial and the maintenance areas.
I think it ties on to what you're saying. So FTA does list in their circulars how long they expect different kinds of vehicles to last, and that's how we determine the
And yes, and that's based on mileage and years of service.
That's right.
So do we have a set mileage number or a set years?
Yes, as far as depreciation goes, that's set, we have a certain set. And then FTA dictates the mileage numbers too, based on the type of vehicle it is.
So for a big bus, it'd be 12 years or 500,000 miles.
Okay, that's what I was trying to hear.
Yeah,
Yeah, what I'm trying to get to is I would like to have no ambiguity. So there's this like open to guesswork on someone's opinion.
Right.
I would like to have generally a good definition around what constitutes end of life.
So we have those guidelines, if I may. The guidelines are defined for different vehicle types, as Annie indicated, for large buses, 12 years or 500,000 miles. Depending on the size of the vehicle, it could be a 200,000 mile, 7-year life. But for all assets that we use grant dollars for, everything from chairs to entire buildings have a planned useful life, and we would be happy to provide you with that schedule.
I think as long as we know that it exists, I'm
Right.
comfortable with it,
Mhm.
and that
Me
this
too.
is subject to,
Yes,
compliance with those definitions.
it is.
All right, any other comments, questions? Because if I were personally able to influence all these things, I would donate a brand new bus to my own personal charity.
Well, then if I may, before we go on, the reason for this is that in our effort to build strong community partnerships and also leverage the assets that we have, you may recall in my report last month that the city of Chattanooga approached us wanting to create a mobile food truck that they can take food out into the community. And so the opportunity to be able to donate an asset that was purchased with federal dollars that has reached its useful life for CARTA, but to have that asset continue on providing a benefit to the community is why this is before you today.
It'd be a far better
that's
use
helpful.
case than to park it here and gather dust in the yard, right?
Or to be scrapped.
All right. All right, so do I have a motion to support the request?
Make a motion that we.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So adopted.
Yeah.
We will sign the paperwork. I don't know, this is the one you want me to sign? It's the first one of it.
Oh, you got another loose leaf and we'll sign it.
I don't have a loose, if you want a loose one, I'll sign it.
It should.
Let's fix it off.
To make sure you have it.
Okay.
Very good. Now we can get to old business. There's people.
We actually have 12. 12 days. Sorry, my bad. Yes, you're right.
Yes, that was
It's people's. You're right.
All right. Give me a fence. I need to stick it.
Mr. Chairman, good morning, Board of Directors, Mr. Frazier, Carter employees, and public guests. I am excited to provide an update today regarding our Read and Ride Fare-Free Summer Pilot Program, which will begin on June 1st through July 31st. That is in partnership with the Chattanooga Public Library. The report of this informational update is referenced on page 42 in your packet. We are delighted to partner with the Chattanooga Public Library on its Make, Play, Read, Learn Summer Reading Program. This initiative will provide the students with access to community resources and expose them to enriching experiences and learning opportunities while removing the barrier of transportation. This program will also offer the students a sense of self-sufficiency and independence as they learn to navigate and use the CARTA system. As noted in the report, This pilot program will be promoted on our website, our social media, and marketing collateral to include a banner that will hang from our Shuttle Park South parking garage and interior and exterior signage on our buses. A media release was sent last week, some of you may have saw it, that announced the Carter and Chattanooga Public Library partnership and both summer programs, the Read and Ride and the Make, Play, Read and Learn. This concludes my report, and I am available to answer any questions that you might have.
No questions, but just a comment. I saw some of this on social media. And I think it's so important for students to have access to the library and to read. And also when you think of some of the regression that can occur during the summertime, then having access to the library is so important. So I'm glad to see that we have this partnership, and I definitely support this. Hopefully we can see it even maybe expanded.
Hopefully so. And the interesting part about this summer program, this pilot program, not only will they have access to the library, but they're riding all summer long for 2 months, anywhere they need to go, to parks, recreation, summer school programs, anything that they might need to get to, they have this unlimited transportation all summer long. Thank you though. Any other
Thank
questions?
you for your work. This is amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
It
you.
really did
Thank you.
explode on social media. I mean, everybody's on board with this, so
Great.
this is
Yes, sir.
fantastic.
Glad to have positive feedback. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Vice Chairman, may we move on to the next topic? Any?
Board Vice Chairman Freeman, Board of Directors, Carter colleagues, Mr. Frazier, and the public. If I could direct you to page 43 of your packet, I'll be going over a review of the incline ticket price change and scheduling of the public hearing. So during preparation of our FY25 budget, opportunities for increased revenue were discussed. One of the recommendations was to increase ticket prices for the incline railway. An increased ticket price of 25% plus $1.25 capital fee, which would be restricted for local grant matching funds, was recommended. A yearly pass was also suggested to be offered on a trial basis, and a summary of changes from the ticket prices include, so the cost of an adult ticket would go from $15 to $20 effective July 1. The cost of a child ticket is proposed to go from $7 to $10 effective July 1st. And Carter will be offering a yearly pass on a trial basis for $75 that will include free parking at the Incline Railway lower station. Since this is a change in fares, Carter is required to hold a public hearing and complete a Title VI analysis to evaluate the effects of fare changes on low-income populations, in addition to Title VI protected populations. A public hearing has been set for May 22nd at 5 p.m. at Shuttle Park South Conference Center. A summary of any public comments and the Title VI analysis will be presented at the June board meeting. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
That's just a quick point of clarification. It says that the increased ticket price of 25%. Down at the bullet points, it mentions $15 to $20, and then 33%.
So it's 25% plus the $1.25 capital fee.
That takes care of the.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a quick question regarding the yearly pass. Is that transferable? How does that work?
I think we haven't kind of gotten all the details ready for that yet. So I think we'll probably provide that at the.
Is that gonna be for Chattanooga residents only, exclusively, or Mountain residents?
I think that will, I'm not quite sure how that will, I think we'll come with more information.
The recommendation from Sea Rock City was not to restrict it to a certain community, but to make it a season pass for anyone that was interested.
So this is a season pass just for the incline?
Yes.
And then it includes the parking, okay.
Anything else?
All right. So noted.
I just have
Quick question.
Yeah, to be compliant with Title VI, do we need translation on site for these hearings?
I think that we've done that in the past. We don't currently have it set up, but I'll look into seeing.
Yeah, just to, I don't think this corporation may require translation, but to prepare for the next one, and review if Title VI actually requires translation.
Not that I'm aware of, but like I said, we have done it before.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Are you volunteering?
You don't want me as a translator. Yeah.
Who needs to attend that hearing, by the way?
Staff will be there.
Staff will be there. Very good. Okay, well, I think it's certainly an important part of our revenue development, and since it's been quite some time since the last increases, it's probably timely now. All right, we look forward, Charles, with great anticipation to item number 13.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Board of Directors, and the public. I am happy to talk about my first 4 months here in Chattanooga and provide you with my feedback on things that I've observed so far. And so I put together an agenda of really 3 things. Number 1, just to provide some structure, a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats point of view. Number 2, looking forward, we need to talk about priorities for this organization. There's 3 areas under this section. It's really fixing the foundation of our organization, forging the future, which is really planning for the next few years. And then we must talk about funding as well. And then finally, I'll give you a summary. When we look at the priorities, I am going to get into some specificity about the things that we're going to be working on in the next year. And so there'll be a key when we get to this part of the agenda. And you'll see I've drawn your attention to things that are going to need board policy, things that are budgeted in our draft fiscal year 25 budget, things that are really the responsibility of the management team to provide for this organization, and then also things that are unfunded as well. So I think that it's important for you to see those things. And then the caveat here for me, and I won't be able to say this forever, but this is literally my 4th month here. I'm wrapping it up. And so I don't know what I don't know yet, but this is everything that I'm seeing and putting it on the table today. So the base evaluation, and we're on page 53 in your handout there. Start with the strengths. I think that this organization is uniquely positioned to be successful. We've got a lot of good strengths. Beyond our transit services, we have the very unique asset, which is the Incline Railway, as well as our parking garages, the parking lots. And I think that that will become a key asset for us as we want to increase ridership. And we can talk about that a little bit in the future. Number 2, the people. Everyone from all of the directors, our chair, of course, of the board, I really appreciate all of your expertise. I will let you know that the overwhelming majority of our employees, everyone from, I think our union president is here still, President Strickland, every one of our operators, the management team, attendants, everybody really cares about this organization. They take their work very seriously, they own it, and they're protective of it. And I think that that's a strength for us at the end of the day. Our academic partnerships, we have great partnerships with the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga Vanderbilt, National Science Foundation. These are all things that have put us on the radar of the Federal Transit Administration, Department of Energy for future grants. So this is very important. Our access to federal grants, specifically FTA, Federal Transit Administration grants, is a big, big strength for us. This is the ability to pay for infrastructure, sidewalks, streets, and we have not leveraged that to the full extent that we can. And then also the potential to drive economic development. And if you look online, there are several quotes, but every dollar invested in public transit really returns $5 of economic development or economic impact. And I want to share one with you that took place last week because of CARTA. We convened the Mid-South Parking Association annual meeting, and that brought 250 people to Chattanooga for 3 nights, and Director Allen was there. But the chamber did an economic impact analysis for us. So that meeting that CARTA convened generated $293,000 of economic impact, the hotels, the food, and supported over 111 jobs. So the opportunity, the potential to drive economic development and impact in this community is real. So strengths. Weaknesses. I don't want to offend anybody on my team. I don't want to be offensive to prior management or this community in any way, shape, or form. These are my observations. So at a very high level, I want to let you know that our organizational structure and lacking key positions is a weakness for us. I don't know if the board knows this, but the way the current organizational structure is laid out, I have 12 direct reports. It's every discipline. It's not manageable. And so that's a weakness for us. We lack many key positions. When I get into kind of recommendations on how we go forward, I'll tell you my recommendation. Absence of technology. This is not just on the bus. It's in the payroll system. I'm signing a payroll sheet every 2 weeks for the 12 people that report to me. Downtown on the shuttle, we have a clicker that operators are carrying, and that paper slip gets sent up to the front office where people are tabulating with a 10 key. This is all throughout the organization in several layers. Maintenance backlog of our facilities. Upper right-hand corner is deterioration, rust, peeling paint. We need to take very good care of our bus stops, our shelters, our facilities, our vehicles, and this is a weakness. We're not doing a good job of that. The lack of policies and procedures. Everything from employee evaluations to how we qualify people for our services, to our service zones, to our maintenance procedures, all things that we are lacking. No established vision. I'm not afraid of that. We'll make that happen. But if you ask anybody, which way are we going? It's like all these directions. Service quality. Again, everything from schedule adherence. The bus leaves too early sometimes. The bus is late often. The appearance of our frontline employees, uniforms, the cleanliness of the vehicles, the availability of stops, all these are challenges, service quality. So that's kind of high level. I want to give you a little bit more detail. Organizational level here, limited data management and no key performance indicators. So go back to, if you're not measuring it, we can't manage it. And I'm very thankful for Director Evett putting together his time and effort to help us see graphs and schedules. But we need to do that across the board. And we do not have a robust data management system. This is a weakness for us. Outdated technology and processes. On the fixed route, we talked about the poor schedule adherence. Faulty real-time data. This is a technology issue. When we pull our technology or on-time performance reports, it's giving us feedback for operators that haven't worked here in 10 years. We've got problems with the technology, and those all have to be resolved. Lacking sufficient stop infrastructure and shelters. I don't have to tell Director Evett. He knows we don't have all of the infrastructure we need. And sometimes that's just as simple as a bus pad. A lot of our bus stops are staked in the grass, which means they're not accessible to persons with disabilities. It's dangerous for our operators to exit and get on the bus there. So all weaknesses. Caravan, limited customer-facing technology, no ability to schedule online and set up the time that I want to travel. No same-day service, which is a premium service, but that means that I need to decide today if I'm going to feel okay tomorrow to go to the movies. It's not ideal. Car2Go, the technology that we're currently using isn't flexible. It doesn't allow us to be nimble and make quick changes. We're going to need to address that. And also related, I didn't put it as a bullet, but for this curb-to-curb service, a one-seat trip, we're not charging a premium fare, and that's a lost revenue opportunity that we're going to need to deal with. Incline railway, not leveraging the potential of the asset. In other words, there's not a master plan. And really down at the base there, we own all of that land, the opportunity for a robust parking deck with retail space and affordable housing at the top, event space and restaurant. This would all add to our revenue and allow us to leverage the asset properly. Opportunities. So there's the kind of weaknesses, and I think you balance that. Again, these are all things that we need to know. Opportunities, the vision of our elected officials. In speaking with Mayor Kelly, Mayor Womp, I think that they both have grand plans for Chattanooga. It involves workforce development, education, jobs, and these are all things that we can be a part of. So I think it's an opportunity for us. Our mobility and innovation hub, we talked about having that centralized hub. This is a huge opportunity for us. So a picture for you, Grand River Station in La Crosse, Wisconsin. The transit center is at the bottom. Also the retail space, upstairs, workforce, affordable housing. This is an opportunity that we need to leverage here in this community. Parking, a tremendous opportunity for us for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Our access to federal grants, one more time, this will pay for infrastructure, and it requires many times only a 10% local match. Only 10%. This is huge. And this will pay for sidewalks, streets, traffic signals. We need to leverage this. Community partnerships, we talked about our opportunity coming up with the library. There are more that we are going to be teeing up, tremendous opportunities. And then regional expansion, everyone from East Ridge, Red Bank, I think everyone's very interested in us expanding our services. Opportunities continued. Fixed route downtown electric shuttle. I think there's a ton of opportunity for increased ridership. Number one, getting people to jobs, getting people to training. English as a second language community. We had a lot of conversations in our recent town hall meetings with the entire employee base to talk about the opportunity to better serve this community. We're really not prepared yet. We don't have a lot of people that are bilingual and speak Spanish and English. We need to beef that up, but it's an opportunity nonetheless. Downtown shuttle, the opportunity to get a lot more ridership. We need to adjust the routes. We need to update the vehicles to do so, but it is an opportunity nonetheless. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. The inductive charging infrastructure that I shared with you that's going on, I'm not sure that that we've properly leveraged the opportunity to bring our community along with us and get people inspired about this amazing technology. And we can become the providers of workforce development and reaching out and partnering with students so that they know about this. Mm-hmm. We talked about the Mobility and Innovation Hub. And then, of course, bus rapid transit. Think about the Route 4 corridor going from downtown all the way to Brainerd. If that was a bus rapid transit with a dedicated lane, we could cut down the travel time from an hour and 10 minutes one way to 30 minutes. It would be a different situation. Opportunities, incline railway, just an image for you. This is St. Elmo on the bottom, the rails at the top there, but there's already been some discussion about the workforce housing, the opportunity for parking and additional revenue there, top station event space and retail. And now allow me to introduce some of the threats. We've talked about in our board meetings here before about the fiscal cliff that is coming for CARTA. We have been dependent upon our grant dollars, the American Recovery Act. That has been balancing our budget for the last several years. We have stagnant local contributions that are quite a challenge for CARTA. We have not had increases from the county or the city. And what that translates to is with inflation and costs rising, because we haven't had increases in over 5 years, we've really incurred a 20% loss in our budget. And so we're doing I'll try to do the same work with less finances. Now, to caveat that, our funding partners expect for CARTA to demonstrate that we are controlling costs properly and that we're eliminating waste. So we'll need to do that and prove that we're doing that, I think, before we can start to see some movement in there. And also no dedicated funding sources. This is something we're going to have to look at, because for us to grow in the future and see through our visionary plans, we're going to need additional revenue to do that. Other threats, recruitment and retention. It's been difficult to find and retain very, very good employees. The market has changed significantly, and so that's something we're going to need to deal with. Another threat, status quo. Just wanting to do what we've always done. Unfortunately, I think that that's a big threat for us. And then finally, the blank there is things we don't know that we don't know. I don't know what I don't know yet, but I'm throwing it out there as a threat. And of course, we're busy uncovering these things, but we need to see what happens. Okay, so that's the SWOT, high-level overview, not comprehensive, tried to touch on many areas. Priorities moving forward. So 3 sections. Fixing the foundation is what I'm going to go through first. Fixing the foundation, high-level overview, organizational structure, policies, procedures, documentations, service delivery, which is critically important for us, infrastructure, technology, data, performance management, customer service, and community engagement. I want to let you know that for organizational structure, the addition of our chief of staff is the first round of organizational structure changes. There will be more, which will help us have better accountability and allow us to be more nimble as we're making management decisions. For policies and procedures documentation, this is where the board is going to need to also get involved. Staff will be recommending policies, fair policies, service area policies, fair capping policies, documentation. There's many parts of our organization that we must fully document our procedures. The FTA in particular, our main grant provider, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. If it's not documented, it didn't happen. We've got to protect ourselves so that we can properly move forward with getting those grants. In a little bit more specificity. And so now I've put here the coding, which is decoded at the bottom there. Restructuring internal reporting, that's on management. The board will see a new organizational chart. It will have a clearly defined executive leadership team and a management leadership team. We will produce that in the next 30 days. We will be adding key positions. The B indicates that it's been budgeted. The U indicates that it's currently unfunded. But road supervisors, something that I heard a lot from our operators, is the need for a sufficient number of road supervisors to intervene and assist when we are providing service in the public. We don't have enough. That's been budgeted. We do not have funded an innovation and performance manager, someone that wakes up every day thinking about how do we innovate? What are these paper things? It's not funded yet. We have budgeted for a customer service manager, very important. We have budgeted for a safety support technician, which is critically important. But for that unfunded piece, the impact is lost or delayed public benefit. There's a lost or delayed public benefit. And in this case, it's innovative technologies like a unified mobility app, one app that would allow you to plan your trip, decide where you're going to park, transfer to a microtransit system, and pay all at once. That'll be delayed. Online trip booking, delayed. Service quality, the ability to really do on-time performance properly, vehicle maintenance, and have all that data. This is delayed by this not being funded. Continuing organization, these key positions are unfunded currently, but important to this organization. A facilities manager, additional facility technicians, a community outreach manager, infrastructure manager, a chief development officer. And again, the lost or delayed public benefit of these not being funded, the ability to keep our facilities clean and safe and properly maintained. And I put there's a risk of some of our future grants. We have to have a good state of good repair for all of the things that are grant funded. Community outreach, the engagement opportunities, we talked about the STEM. It's not that we don't want to, we need some folks to be able to carry that torch. So not having the position delays our ability to have that STEM interface, workforce development. And then in infrastructure, shelter inventory and expansion plan, ADA bus stop plan, not having these infrastructure manager positions available to do the work means that it's delayed because we've got existing staff that are already a little bit stretched to do it. So trying to get very clear on this. Fixed route, Good news, updating the scheduling technology and updating the scheduling running times is budgeted for. Updating the intelligent transportation system, the real-time information, budgeted for. Replace the fare technology, it is budgeted for, but I think even after this conversation today, we want to probably be diligent on how we move forward. Develop evaluation policies and procedures. This is both a management responsibility and a policy. I want to just stop here for a second. A lot of times, I think when we're talking about the health of a particular shuttle route or a fixed route, some of it's anecdotal and what was the change in ridership. We need a very robust way to gauge the health of any fixed route. And that's really going to be a combination of passenger miles and ridership. And the board needs to be able to see that on a matrix so that you can make a policy decision about what actions we take when a route falls into the danger zone.
Right.
So it's a management's going to be responsibility to produce that recommendation for you, the board then to create the policy. Modifying routes, eliminating duplicated services, again, management responsibility to put this forward, but the board will need to make some policy decisions if we are moving our resources around. And what I'm talking about is taking routes that are not being productive, they're not providing value, and reallocating those resources. What is not going to be funded? Very clear, expansion of service hours, increased frequency on fixed route, regional services out of the city, unified mobility app, expansion of infrastructure. I'm talking shelters and stops, and increased cleaning services. These are not funded currently.
So all of those crucial things to make Carter a better service to the community.
These are all public-facing things, yes. And so to your point, the lost or delayed, really, public benefit, reasonable travel time, late night or weekend service, travel outside the city, unified mobility app, shelter maintenance, and ADA bus stop paths are really what we're talking about. When something's not funded, there's a challenge there. Paratransit, again, we're still in the fixing the foundation. What you can anticipate will be happening over the next 12 months. Qualification and service area policies, management needs to revamp how we qualify and what the service area is, and bring for a robust discussion to this board a policy for how we do that moving forward. Implementing a commingled dispatch center that's been budgeted for. That's where we dispatch similar type vehicles out of the same control center. Upgrading the technology suite, adding same-day service, expanding the service zones. These are not funded. And so the delayed public benefit is, same-day service for Caravan, countywide travel, the ability to book trips online, and then real-time notifications are not happening there yet. Car2Go, again, still fixing the foundation. We will be able to develop the qualification and service area policies. We'll bring those to the board this year. Implementing the commingled dispatch center that's been budgeted for. But for the technology suite, adding capacity to the zones. So you do hear from the team that the ridership is increased. We've got good productivity. We do not have funding to add additional vehicles or operators to that service, and no ability to add new zones in the network is budgeted for. So the delayed public benefit is integrated trip planning, shorter waiting times, and then new areas of service. Continuing in fixing the foundation, generally in parking, I think we're looking pretty good for this next year. We will be bringing to you updated parking policies. These are the parking rates. The fines that are associated with that need to be adjusted. So these are policy decisions that staff will bring to you this year. Coordinated signage is very important for the city. We will be bringing forward and convening even the private owners to get that handled. Expansion of paid parking boundary and zone. We will bring that forward as a recommendation to the board, and it'll be a policy decision, not only for this board, but also city council. We'll take it to city council first. And then investment in new technologies. This has been budgeted, so we're looking forward to that. Forging the future. So that's kind of your, fixing the foundation. Forging the future is also going to happen in the next 12 months. It's very important. So while we're fixing things and getting our our home base prepared, we need to plan for immediate next steps in the future. So number one, developing our strategic plan. This will involve the board, management team, and it is budgeted for in our budget cycle. We will be looking to get a community consensus on mobility, infrastructure, parking, so that this team can develop the objectives, the goals, and the key performance indicators for that success. Number two, creation of the Incline Railway Master Plan. This is truly transit-oriented development study. This is budgeted for this next year so that we can go through that process. And then third and finally, in the Forging the Future, an investment in initial infrastructure design and budgeted for. What that means is for things like the Mobility and Innovation Hub, our shelter designs, our bus pad designs, we need to invest in, and it's budgeted for the initial design concepts that will become construction documents when we're ready to move forward. Okay. Bless you. Finally, fiscal cliff here, I would let you know that it's very important that we secure near-term dependence on local contributions. This will require not only my team, but also the board. I'm working very closely with our funding partners at the city and the county. We'll be doing that throughout the year and talking about what our needs are. And then longer term, we do need to identify various forms of dedicated funding, which we can do in the state, but there's a process. State and federal grants, we need to aggressively pursue opportunities. Again, these grants usually require 10 to 20% local match. It's a really good way to leverage our local dollars. And then fares and fees, I put the P there for policy. The board will need to have some robust conversations about fares for our premium services, the one-seat trip, fares for caravan, fares for fixed route as well. So that'll be coming in this year. And I think the challenge will be to balance our revenue but also keep things affordable for this community as well. So with that, I'm wrapping up. Chair, I appreciate the time. My 100-day assessment, the summary, I think the opportunities for success are abundant. I'm very happy to be here leading this organization. Economic development, federal grants, infrastructure, mobility, parking, I think are all there for us to influence. The foundation of the organization must be fixed first. So any initial budget increases that we put forward this year will focus on those basic needs, not expansion. And lack of funding impacts the speed of fixing the foundation, but not the need to do so. To be clear, so if we don't have the funding, it doesn't change the fact that things need to be fixed there. And then finally, the organization requires a strategic plan. We need to set priorities and focus energy and resources collectively and ensure that both employees and stakeholders are working towards a common goal. We don't want to be too thin on anything. And then additional funding will be required for future expansion. So the plan that we put together must accurately reflect cost and demonstrate good financial stewardship if we're to be successful with our local funding partners. So with that, again, I'm thankful that you've given me this opportunity and this tremendous responsibility. This is what I'm seeing at my 4-month mark. I'm still uncovering more, but happy that you've given me the opportunity to do so. So that is my report, and I would be available for any comments or questions you have.
Charles, thank you very much. I think that was a very comprehensive and compelling overview. Some really good insights. Some not unexpected, other was certainly also reinforcing perspectives that I think I and the board had shared, and then other new insights as well, for which I thank you. Are there any comments, observations?
I just want to say thank you for that brilliant breakdown of what that underfunding looks like and what the results of that are. I think that's extraordinary that you kind of outlined where we are, where we could be, where we're going. So appreciate that work.
So I want to jump on that, Corey. Thank you for raising it. Everything that was contained in that report was valuable. The one that for me stands out, though, as a area of grave concern is exactly the issue about the fiscal cliff the implications of that, and the funding. We had all set out, and Charles has sort of referenced that we still need to further build out our vision for Carter. But irrespective of how we want to choose the language and the verbiage to describe it, I think conceptually we all have an idea of building out Carter as a premium transit service that really meets the needs and expectations of our community. With a high quality, reliable, safe, and good quality service. The funding challenge directly stands in the way of that. But it goes even more. It's not just about what we cannot do to improve where we are. I don't want to over dramatize, and I don't think I am. The fiscal cliff for us actually represents an existential threat. This is fact. We will run out of money just to keep our normal operations going. And that happens not very far down the road. The reality is that Carter, as all public transit organizations, is one that cannot save its way out of funding needs. Yes, we have to build credibility by being operationally effective, efficient, a lean, mean fighting machine. We need to restore and develop trust with our stakeholders in the broader community, but particularly in our political leadership and the city council members who are the custodians of decisions on funding for this organization. And so building a, I think, strong foundation of strong strategic vision and a robust plan for execution of the strategies that are required to deliver it is one thing, and it's an important starting point. Getting our house in order and improving and fixing some of those threats and weaknesses is important building blocks. But it's also clear to me that we are going to have to engage with city leadership, county leadership, and other stakeholders who are the custodians of our funding. We have the reality, and I think it must be said, we have the reality that the city contribution towards Carter's operating budget has remained flat 5 years in a row. That amounts effectively to a 20% decline over that period, given the erosion of purchasing power. And it is inconceivable that we can meet our objectives of maintaining the status quo, never mind improving, when your revenue base and your financial support is actually declining by that magnitude. And so I've had discussions with Charles in our regular executive meetings. I think that Charles and I, but also key members of the board, need to really begin to engage with our political leadership. I am pleased to confirm that our two mayors are strongly in support of Carter and share our ideals for wanting to improve the service to our community. The city is not without its own financial challenges, and I know the county faces the same. So everybody's in the same boat. On the other hand, it's also clear that we need to relook prioritization of resources. And I cannot imagine that Chattanooga could contemplate a future where there is no Carter. How our members of our community who are totally dependent on us for their transit needs would get by is a topic I don't even wish to contemplate. And so there must be a commensurate weighting to the prioritization also for the funding and support of Carter. And I am going to draw on key members of everybody is the board's key, but some have also existing relationships. I think that we need to have a very carefully crafted approach now to approach not only our city mayor's offices, but also the county commissioners and the councillors to inform and bring about an understanding and insight of the situation of Carter as has been articulated. I think good information and good transparency brings about understanding. And we cannot assume that everybody is knowledgeable about the affairs, status, and aspirations of Carter. And in particular, the very severe financial constraints that we face. I have to say it's unprecedented. I don't think there's been a time in the history of Carter where we are on the brink of going out of business. That's what it means. That's what the fiscal cliff means.
Right.
And the later you course correct, the more difficult it is. And so this is something that I think nobody can contemplate maintaining the status quo, because the status quo brings us to a dead end. So those are my comments. You hopefully can tell I speak with passion from the heart. And we truly do have our work cut out for us. And an important first sort of milestone is in place, I think, with Charles, your appointment and the strong leadership you've brought to the organization, the impact you're already making. And we look forward to continuing our support to you and to the Carter organization and the team as we address the challenges, but also avail ourselves of the opportunities that you've outlined. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I hope you got all that.
Can I add to, well, it's like 100 days, it feels like 4 years, 4 months. I'm very happy to be here through the whole process. But for me, what's important, all the things that you expose is like how human-centered you are and how you're bringing that into the organization. It's really hard to keep in mind community members when we talk about budgets, infrastructure, but somehow you thread that in all of what you're doing. I know the SWOT analysis. So I'm very thankful to have a leadership that can see people. And I don't give that for granted. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or thoughts? Can we accept the CEO report as presented? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so accepted. Thank you. With that, I'd like to adjourn the board meeting. We'll have a short break. I would suggest 10 minutes or so before we resume with the executive session. Thank you to all.